The goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Thanks for having us. This is a very cool show.
Yeah, so through many iterations, and we finally landed on the weirdest one by far.
Yeah, just a couple of feelings, and boom, you got a sound.
I remember this one time. I'd been writing some songs, and I went out. I'm just going right in on this story. I went out, and so I was.
The story's longer than the song itself. We'll go ahead and play it.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, from the back room of Boonton Coffee in Boonton, New Jersey, Sean Kelly of The Samples. Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Hello, everyone. I am your host, Phillip Reese.
Hello, and I am your co-host, David Moore.
And this is
your next favorite band.
I liked that. I liked the little build-up. There was tension there. You could cut it with something.
We just need that big sort of symphonic bass hit orchestra thing that they do in movies after that now.
Mm-hmm. I think we can find that.
Sure.
I mean, it would be fun to have a soundboard.
We could get all sorts of like wacky morning zoo add-ons if we wanted to.
That would definitely be a callback, which is perfect for today's episode to my early 90s experiences. But and we don't really want to dilly-dally too much because we're super excited for today's interview. But first, a little banter. One new pet peeve, gripe, whatever we labeled it last time, but it's a quick one. Went into the dollar store.
Okay.
And everything was $1.25.
Yeah, the reality of it is there's two types of dollar stores, right? There's everything's a dollar store, and then there's the ones that are sort of, and have always been, a discount store.
Yeah.
And that second category is less of the gripe, I'm presuming, than the first one, which is the...
No, right. This was a true straight-up
dollar
store and $1.25. First of all, no truth in advertising. I felt, wronged. And then secondly, I know there's inflation, but 25%, that seems a lot.
Yeah, well, our rates are going up too, Phil, to cover that dollar store upkeep that you have to have, and we're 25% more right now. So
right. Well, that's the good news is since it was free for everyone before, when you multiply 0, you're going to stay at 0. So you are still getting all this content for free,
but at 25% more.
We are pumped. Right. Exactly. Pumped for today. I would say. Like, we've definitely had people on the show that may have been someone's favorite already. We've had some rather, again, all in awe. Like, this isn't a brag. It's more of just like an amazement of people who say yes to little old us. But there have been people on who obviously there would be a crew of people who would definitely have known them before. But this one, I think, is one where could very well have been a lot of people's previous favorite and current favorite.
Yeah, I think this one falls closer to the category when in the voiceover, there's up and coming or under the radar. And I think this one is, for some people, would fall into the under the radar. Now, not for you and I. We're both well aware of this guest. But for others, this is an opportunity to find someone who has a breadth of material and a story that is more than just we met a couple years ago.
Yes. And I think even for fans, there's elements to this story that you probably don't know and would find highly interesting. And even stuff that came out that we didn't even find in prep, like that he's so full of great stories that it was just amazing how many different moments, especially the live song that he plays, the story about how that song was written. I just think all of that is super cool. So we're doing a little tease factor here. So, but definitely stay tuned for the whole thing.
Burying the lead.
Well, no, we're trying not to, so anyway, who we're talking about here is, and you heard in the open, Sean Kelly of The Samples. In fact, to your point, David, and you're the one that even made me aware of this, there's a documentary about them that's literally called The Best Band You've Never Heard Of.
Correct, yeah.
So there might be that flying under the radar thing for some people who might say, how did I never hear about this band when I was either in college or,
Yeah, if you go back into the history, and we obviously don't talk about all of this in, super deep detail when it comes to parts of this, but some of the bands they've toured with or tours they've been on are just like, wait, what? What?
Right. Yes, and there's an outside shot that you may have been at a festival that had them at it, and maybe this will be like, that's that band, right? Exactly, me too. But but that this might be where you might get the reminder of who that even was. But
correct.
But first, what we wanted to do was shout out a giant thank you to Boonton Coffee. So how this kind of all
accommodating.
Yes, how this all transpired, and here's their site. We can bring this up while we're chatting about them. They're in Boonton, New Jersey, and they're getting not only a very, very awesome coffee shop, but they are setting up very, very cool concerts. They're somewhat kind of exclusive. Here's their previous shows. So you can see here Chris Barron from the Spin Doctors. There's the Sean Kelly poster. You can see here Rusted Root. Just very, very cool things that they're booking. Much more intimate. I think it's capped at 50.
I think it is capped at 50.
Yeah. So, but a very cool environment. And so we reached out to them because Sean was nice enough to invite us to interview him in person. And it was only about an hour from where we live here in the Lehigh Valley. So we just were at a kind of a loss for where to do it. So we reached right out to Boonton to kind of say, hey, he's performing on Saturday night in your establishment. Can we just come back there on Sunday to do the interview? And they said, absolutely, would love to do that. So huge shout out to them, like you said, accommodating. Andrew in particular, who helped us out from the moment we made the phone call to the entire time there, was just incredible. So shout out to Andrew in particular. Here's the upcoming events. They specifically mentioned this Cold Weather Company that's on the 18th of March. What is that, like 10, 12 days away? So that's one that...
Yeah, from the time this will release, it's about 10 days. So if you're listening to this now, maybe think about getting tickets.
And like I said, it's in basically just north of Morristown, Parsippany, New Jersey. So that kind of central 287, 78, 80 kind of range, dead center of the state. And like I said, about an hour here from the Lehigh Valley. So,
and it'd be about the same distance if you were coming from, say, New York.
True. Very true.
So there's that advantage too.
Yeah.
That you can, if their location has those advantages.
Yeah. So Boonton Coffee, check them out. I'm guessing you might be able to even purchase their coffee online. So you've always got that in case you're not local. But let's get to our guest. We'll do a little bit of an intro here. We did the interview over the weekend, so it's a recorded thing that we'll play after we do the intro here. But for first, again, on the off chance that you've never heard of the Samples, this was one of their pretty popular songs. It was called Little Silver Ring. And the other neat part is the video was shot by them back in the 90s and edited together to the studio recording. So it's a pretty cool window into who they were back then. And then we start off the interview talking about this video. So it's a pretty good connection. But here's their music, who they were, and David will do the bio, and then we'll get to the interview.
Now, off to conquer the damsels. Growing old, watching silver turn to gold, snowing cold. Why aren't you here for me to hold? In
best known for his tenor voice, unique guitar playing, and songwriting, singer-songwriter Sean Kelly is the frontman for The Samples. While attending only 1 year of high school, he began playing guitar and composing his own songs. After moving to Colorado in 1987 to start a band, Kelly became a fixture at local club stages as the frontman for The Samples, playing original songs with a variety of rock, reggae, and folk. When not touring with The Samples, he enjoys playing his songs acoustically, and his songs have been featured in various soundtracks and advertisements, including the song Could It Be Another Change in the film The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and in television's Younger, and in ads for MSNBC's election coverage. With The Samples, Kelly has released 12 studio albums, several compilations and EPs, and more live releases.
So fun to see them in this phase, having such fun and stuff. And I would say too, the youthfulness that you see here, I think you still see in him in this interview. Like when I watched that video, and I remember who we talked with this past weekend, it's still there. Like he's still like that same kind of energy to him, and it's that light in his eyes, which I just think was very, very cool. So let's enjoy the interview with Sean Kelly of The Samples. So you heard right there, Little Silver Ring. You saw some of that, original video from The Samples, and Sean Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my God, it's my pleasure. Are you kidding me? And as I said earlier, in the last little bit of time there, that what a joy it is for me as well. Awesome. Especially this beautiful room.
Yes, yeah, we're here in Boonton Coffee. You played here last night, and they've got some great things going on here, where they're bringing in artists like yourself. They brought in Spin Doctors. They brought in Rusted Root. They brought in different people from these different... There's some cool things going on here at Boonton Coffee, but so you played here last night, and today we get the honor of interviewing you and talking about your story, your history, your legacy here in the music industry.
All right.
Yeah.
Then it's going to be a very short interview.
That is not true. That is not true. But you were sharing a little bit there where that video of Little Silver Ring was like the first time you had a camera where you would be able to do some of the edits.
Well, I started to figure out that was long before all the access and stuff now, but then I had everybody probably in the bus at the time, it was in Indiana somewhere, and had everybody lip sync to the song.
Sure.
About 3 times we went by, so that it was a pass where I filmed this guy, the drummer, doing something on the thing, and
Jeep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the bass player and all of us, and then they'd film me doing a little singing.
Yep.
And we had enough footage, and it was all lip sync. We were lip syncing to the actual recording, so
Yep.
it all fit in no matter what. And then I just had fun with a little program
Yep.
and put it together. It glued right together, and it was nice, really, to just capture a little time in history. Actually,
It totally is.
But it was
Yeah.
neat to see that you could make it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, your YouTube channel is phenomenal because if you just keep kind of cycling back, there's stuff that's like you posted 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's like half the distance of the history of the band, but still, you were out there in the beginnings of it all, just posting stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're still out there for people to enjoy.
And I've come across a lot of stuff over the last few years that's really old, so it might be put up recently, but it's really old stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to when I was 16 in my bedroom playing guitar, and all that stuff's on YouTube.
Wow.
I put a lot of really cool stuff on there.
That is very cool. Well, so as people know, we do like to go back to the beginning. So we would love it if you don't mind. We'll go kind of tell your story from the beginning. There will be plenty of people tuning in that definitely already know the story of Sean Kelly and the Samples. But there'll be plenty of people who this might be the first time they're really getting exposed to.
I can't wait to hear the story. I'm serious. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting.
So I think a lot of people associate the Samples with Colorado, but you started in Vermont.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Vermont, son of a World War II veteran?
Yeah, my dad.
Your dad?
Kelly, yeah.
And your mom, who worked kind of however it took to get food on the table, in construction and all sorts of different things.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think that was just an interesting part of what I learned about your story, in that New England area, and didn't have a lot of privileges. Like you were struggling to but always had what you needed.
We were loaded with the right privileges, that's for sure.
Sure.
I mean, we were, but I couldn't afford horn lessons, which is what I wanted to do.
So you wanted to learn horns?
Yeah, my friend Arnold Hill and I. We misunderstood the deal, but we were told if we could bring in $5, we could join. You know what it took to get that $5 from our parents? We could be part of whatever it is to start learning how to play the horn. That was well misunderstood. It was like $35 just to rent the horn,
wow,
thing, and it was like very expensive. And we walked 3 to 4 miles that day with our little $5.
Sure.
And we turned around and we couldn't do it.
So you must have been heartbroken.
A little bit, but then we threw rocks at things and stuff. We got in a lot of trouble together. So that's, it's either let us play horns or expect to get your stuff destroyed.
It's a fair compromise.
Yeah. And it wasn't out of anger. It was just out of boredom. We're like, shit, okay, we can't play horns. Let's throw rocks at trains.
Sure.
Whatever. That's what we did.
Yeah. But you did pick up the guitar.
Yeah.
At somewhere along the way, you got that. And even to this day, no lessons. Like you self-taught and
My girlfriend just found that out recently. I was like, you don't think I can read music, do you? And she's like, well, yes, of course you can. And stuff. I kind of go, I can't read any. There's not one thing I'm doing that I can write music and everything and do it all, but the playing of music came first. The documentation of it came second. And that's just like communication and people. We were writing on cave walls.
Yeah.
But first you had to talk.
Precisely.
Then let's write down what we saw in the fields on the cave wall.
Sure.
We were just talking about. But with music, it's the same exact thing. And as long as I've got the basics down, that's it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, sure. I mean, that's how we all learned. We learned to speak when we were small, and then we got to school, and you learned,
exactly,
your letters, your reading and writing, all the things that go with that.
If I thought for 1 second, looking back, that it would have hindered my playing or expressing myself through this medium, because I thought there was a process I first had to go through. Like, I've got to learn how to play. I think that would have stripped away the soul of it.
The magic of it, yeah.
I just needed it's like a hammer to build something. I just need something to build with.
Yeah.
And the basics were good enough. So I hope this gets out there, that don't ever stop yourself from playing or being creative or anything based on what you think there's some sort of a formula that's got to go into it.
Sure.
First.
Yeah, that's actually
I was
good
writing
advice.
songs long before I could play somebody else's song. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Whether those songs are any good or not, it's not. That's all whatever. You're just a little kid starting out. Certainly that was.
And you're writing music already in that moment. And one of the songs you write back then is the Shawnee Boy song, right?
I wrote that half an hour after my brother got off the phone with my mother, telling her, he's going to be a. It used to say your brother called to say you're just a fool, but I felt bad because my brother and I talked about it years later. And he felt, man, maybe I should have been more. I took it and turned it into teacher, and it was pretty much teacher that had declared me.
Yeah. Because that whole song is about you better get your ass back in school.
Yeah.
But it's you saying, no, I'm going to go write music.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to find myself in the wind. But it's all about that coming down on you thing. You got to do it. You better go to school. You're nobody, and nobody's going to believe you're ever going to make it with your music. Especially
back then.
So,
and
I was determined that I didn't have anything to lose. I kind of liked being told that was my... That's it. That's my option. Like, either I stick with this or everything I do is going to account to nothing and I'm just going to lose out and I'm going to be a big loser. That's what the system was telling me. Certainly my family.
I think there's another element to the system there worth mentioning because, again, we find sometimes it's important to talk about certain topics like this because it's very validating for some people. For you were being told at that time, you've been since diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, but back then they were just not viewing you as a good student. So you weren't all that committed to education because it wasn't rewarding you, it wasn't matching what you needed.
And I figured it out real quick that it was a system about the rewards were people who could memorize things, memorization. It wasn't about retaining information. Sure. So here I was, like, actually before the music and everything, I studied birds. I was basically a very young ornithologist.
Sure.
And I loved it, and to this day I still know all this stuff, but it was all self-taught. I was given no grades for that. I could name every bird from A to B, A to Z in the Roger Tory Peterson Field Guide to North American, Western birds, Eastern. And but my math skills and everything else just crumbling, going down the drain.
Right.
And I may have even had a grade in music had the teacher let us touch any of the instruments. I'll never forget that. Like, I had a thing for music early on, and the ceiling of the room was lined with little acoustic guitars. But in all the years we had music class and everything, it was like the little recorders and
like penny whistles.
Clean the recorders out, wash the board, and you couldn't go beyond. It was like restricting me. I'm like, this is a weird thing. It's like teased right in front of you.
Sure.
But the real basics, you had to make sure you got out of the way. You got to know the history of whatever. Crazy.
But I think the point there is that you didn't leave the schooling. The system let you down, and you just...
I was told I was mentally retarded by a teacher in 8th grade.
And that is so wrong and so, like... of course you left. Like, if you're going to find this rewarding,
Once again, it was set up where I had nothing to lose, so there's really no pressure. I'm like, and that was their choice. Like, really? That's what I fucking get after all the birds I've studied, all the unknown things that I'm into, all the things that school couldn't provide for me, but all the intensity that I have towards science and all these things, which ironically, through music, there's math, there's science, and it covered everything anyways.
And so in that same time frame, you had met Andy Shelton.
Yeah, in high school, I met him.
Yeah.
We were on the same baseball team, so we took baseball together, but of course we never got to play.
Right.
And it was like, what's that? Now it's favoritism? We just learned about the other oddities, and it was like such a letdown. We went to every game, and I love baseball. I really did. We didn't get to go on the field once and play, he and I.
Right.
But we did all the training, all the stuff, and it was for JV high school baseball, because I made it to my freshman year of high school, which was just floundering because my brother had just lost his leg to cancer. So the school was being a little lenient or really nice with us, and they were like, I was missing a lot of school, but it wasn't because of my brother. It was just a lot of things are kind of coming undone. But okay, so we did the baseball, and then I didn't know Andy played guitar at all, and I didn't play yet, but I knew I wanted to. It was all starting to go into music rapidly because I also tried that year to take music class, and I wanted to play drums. But that was another scenario where the music class, God bless him, because I really did love the music teacher. This guy was really great. He's now a DA in Burlington, Vermont. But we were learning something called the paradiddle. Paradiddle. I'm like, all right, but there's a fucking drum set right there. Like, can I just see if I kind of want to play it? Like, when do we get to go near an instrument? What is the big deal with this?
Right.
Once again, it taught me, it was like, I do not want to do this or music or anything about this, but the guitar kept coming back. It kept, my brother had a 4-string banjo. I mean, maybe 3-string or 2, just down to no strings. No one knew how to play it, but it was something with a string on it and frets.
Yep.
And so I didn't know anything about tuning or anything, but it started to be like, wow, this is a thing I can carry anywhere I go. This is not like a drum set or any large instrument keyboards of some kind. It's like this guitar is kind of might work out. So I was just moving that year to northern Vermont. And my friend, Richard Long, very dear friend, lived at the other end of the street, used to lend me his acoustic guitar that he got for Christmas, which was just one of those $25 things you get at like Woolworths or whatever back then. And I kept it with me when I moved, and I kind of knew I was kind of stealing it, but at the same time, he was never coming to ask for it. But I was like, and we moved to the most desolate part of Vermont, which was Grand Isle, and 3 brothers stayed back to finish high school, and 2 of the youngest, myself and my brother Liam, went to Grand Isle with my mom. So now we're moving in high school, which was the toughest time to ever do anything.
Yeah.
I was really miserable. I was a miserable kid for quite a while. But that guitar became like my best friend, and that's where I
was like your foundation.
Then I got to learn to tune a guitar, and then I got to go to music stores and ask questions.
So you meet Andy, but you also meet Charles Hambleton.
Well, I meet Andy, and there's couple bands that Andy and I were in long before I met Charles.
Got it. Okay.
So we were in a band called.
So this is still high school. We're still in Vermont.
School. I found out he played guitar, and I used to follow him to Radio Shack, and he would go down there and play an electric
I
guitar.
I'm
it's
picturing
classic.
that. Yeah.
I would. It was just like following the guy because I'm like, he plays music. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
He doesn't. In Manchester, it was either you hunted, you got your license to get for Buck Day, or
Right.
you did something else. But to play music was like, really? Like, he plays guitar, and that's what I want to do. So he's the closest thing to it. There's no internet. There's no connection to the world or anything.
Right.
With knowing who else could play. But I stayed. We didn't really talk much. We didn't have any connection really. I just kind of watched, and then I would go home because my house was on Elm Street, which was closest. We would head home, and there was no interaction. Then I moved. That was it. The spring of that year, moved to Burlington, Vermont, to Grand Isle, and really was isolated. It was really rough. Learned the guitar, and then slowly I came back to Manchester now with knowledge of playing.
Sure.
And found an old friend of mine's older brother, Rob Summers, and he was also in the samples for many years.
Okay.
And so he found me at the bottle room. I used to work at the Manchester Discount Bottle Room doing the redemptions and stuff. So he showed up and he goes, "I hear you play guitar. Let's play music together." And I'm like, son of a bitch, right? Like, I'm writing down numbers. And so he and I started playing. Then we met through his brother, Andy Sheldon, because he was playing with my friend's younger brother.
Right.
And Andy showed up, but he was playing guitar and stuff. And the only reason he played bass was we flipped coins, I think.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So he was the bass player. My brother Pat was the singer. Tom Robertson was on drums, and we were called The Last Straw, and Rob Summers on guitar, and me. Sounded horrible, just hacking away, but we thought we were the fucking Beatles,
Yeah,
we're
right,
just like,
sure.
If we're the Beatles, why are our ears ringing and nobody likes us? And their ears were ringing. We're just practiced all the time,
Right.
And so we got like 1 or 2 shows out of that, and the prom at the high school, but we were not the band. We were like, the last song we played was The End by the Doors. Like, our covers were really bizarre and really dark.
Nothing wraps up a prom lovely.
Nothing
like that. Nothing like
and
that.
my brother
Yeah.
has
I wish
one
my
leg,
prom ended with The End by the Doors.
and my brother has one leg, prosthetic leg, and he's the lead singer, and he kicked it out into the crowd. So his leg flew off. It was like really something, that band. But we didn't know anything. We didn't know what lights were or monitors. We never had any of those things. So
Sure.
they weren't there. But
Yeah, why would you?
First something, when
Yeah.
you're starting out. Then years went by, and I moved to Burlington and started meeting other people I played music with, like Charles Hamilton.
Yeah.
At an open mic, and he's the one that convinced me to go to Boulder with him one night.
Well, there was a time, you talked about it before, where you went to the Chic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I met Charles.
Yeah.
So I went to the Chic every Sunday. I worked construction, and I worked at another bizarre, odd job. That's all they work. First, every Sunday for half an hour, I could get out of work and go down to the open mic at the Chic and play. Because I wanted to learn how to play in front of people.
Yeah, in front of people is a whole different thing than your bedroom,
Yeah, but I was never the singer guy or anything. That was my brother Pat, and I had no interest in it whatsoever. I just met Charles there. He and I became good friends, and he's just a magical guy.
He is, yes.
He really was just like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I've never heard someone match my energy, although I didn't have the connections and resources that he had. I just had the energy.
You had the passion.
Yeah, the wicked passion. And we started a band together in no time. And we were actually, it was $1 to get in. And at Thin Bars, we'd make like $200. 200 people would probably fit in there, maybe a little less. That was the biggest deal ever. We're like, and now we're actually getting paid. Because we never got paid with The Last Straw or anything. It was pay to play pretty much.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, wow, now it's progressing. You know, we've gotten better. It's tighter, smoother.
Yep.
It's different people I'm playing with. But I'll find a way, something.
Yeah. But Charles brings you to Colorado.
He calls me out of the blue like a year later and says, grab your amplifier.
We're going.
Whatever clothes you got, we're going to Colorado.
And you hadn't been west of Albany.
Never. No way. I'd never been in an airplane, not that we flew out there, but I'd never done anything. I'm just like a little kid from a small town.
I mean, like, that must be so formative because the drive across our country is so wildly different. You come through the Appalachians, then it gets flat, then you get out to Colorado and it's the Rockies.
That really kind of is, but we had done that drive a million times, but I'd never done that first time.
The first time, yeah.
I never knew what was going on there. When I saw flat land for the first time, like real flat, like Kansas.
And it's just flat forever
and
at
I
that
didn't
point in
mind
time.
it. I still don't. I see it as the ocean. It's just incredible. I love it.
Yeah. So you get to Colorado, and Andy Shelton coincidentally has also moved to Colorado like weeks prior, like around the same exact time.
He moved out with a girlfriend and was just randomly there. We had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah. And is this where you're at 14th and Euclid?
Yeah.
Like you're at the house.
We're living on the floor, and
which then you write a song about that later, like with that. Yeah. It's a great song.
But living there was funny though, because it was me, Charles, and I had a girlfriend that drove out with me at the time. And we just literally slept on the floor, but we caused trouble all the time. Like we had speakers, and Charles and I would put them over the heaters of this ginormous house, over the heater vents, and it was whale sounds. So like in the middle of the night, you just throughout the house, and it'd be like cranked. No one would think it was us, and we were close to the thing, but that lasted about a month, and then we all got.
Well, I will say we always enjoyed "Oh Little Whale." Like that song. I don't know if that's an homage to that, but that is a great.
That's Vince at his best. That's my friend Vince. And I had a recorder over Christmas one year. We made this fake album, and then funny, there's a full album. It's called "Bitch," and it's Vince and I, and he's the lead singer. And his voice is just like so great. But something in there was a song about a little whale. I go, we got to put that on our new album or sneak that in somewhere. That's some crazy
it is fun. It is great.
That's all that was.
But it's not long after. So you connect with Andy, and then you meet with Jeep and then Al like relatively quickly.
Al
after you're out there.
Yeah, because once we had Andy and we started playing together.
Yep.
And Al heard us at a party,
like a frat party or something like
Euclid.
That. There you go.
And so he's like, he's a little skate rat, and he's like, I play keyboards, and it's like, go fucking get it. What do you mean? Who are you? Nice to meet you. You're welcome to the band.
Yeah.
So he was just the first guy to go grab a keyboard, and it was a Poly 6, I think, synthesizer that really just made helicopter noises. We're like, he's hired. Like, that is so great.
That's the sound we've been looking for the entire time.
He's become such an incredible keyboardist over the years, because he really started out with some of that, just the weird sounds and things that were just sounds.
Yeah.
Because I play with him now a lot. He's had a lot. He's had a lot of sample shows, and he's just amazing how good he's got.
Yeah. Oh, totally. So we're around the year 1989.
87 or 88.
Yeah, and you developed this self-titled kind of blue album of the samples.
Yep.
Which, I mean, the magic of that album is that you were handing out cassettes for free at shows.
Oh, yeah.
And it just develops this, like, grassroots effort where you were getting booked at places purely because of people hearing about how good it was.
To this day, we still get gigs around. I mean, we played St. Bart, like, a couple of years ago, and only there for 24 hours, in and out. But it was a samples fan that goes way back. And, like, to think that our music could take you to those kind of places somehow, all from the very beginning of passing those. I still throw anything out. You got to, man. Come on.
Oh, I mean, even you agreeing to this interview, I think is just showing, like, your love of getting the music out there, getting the story out there.
Well, it's the right road, too. It's done under no pressure, and it's not done because it's some A&R agents like, you better do that fucking interview. Your career's done, buddy. That's it. It's mellow and chill. We do everything our own way. And you approached us, and it's totally. And then how could you deny the incredibly the exchange is like, access to our music that somebody might not have ever had, because you could change the whole fucking world. All of a sudden, you could change. Certainly our world, if somebody heard a song, was like, who is this band? Well, how many songs are any other ones any good? And then they realize there's a lot of like pretty cool, deep songs going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, to take a moment. So I was introduced to your music 1992, my freshman year of college. And so
where'd you go to school?
Actually upstate New York near Rochester. We would always see you 92, 93, 94 at the Horizontal Boogie Bar. We were always just simply amazed with your music, and so formative. Like, I find your lyrics to be like, it was about just, again, like, we were all on the same page regarding, like, whether it was forming relationships or there's something more in my life than where I'm at right now, so I have to leave this behind to go pursue that. Whatever it was, there's all of that in your songs, and it was so validating for 6, 7, 12 of us in college or whatever.
So great.
And we would just love it because we could be there in the moment and then just realize it was a moment in time too, because college is this great thing, but you got to move on past that.
And also it's about connecting with like there's somebody singing for your soul.
Yeah.
Like somebody, it's like I can get this.
Oh, totally.
We're sort of like the Island of Misfit Toys band. You know? We really are.
Yeah, but in those times, I don't know if you remember this, but because I saw it on some of the stuff on YouTube, but I don't know if you were just hot or whatever, but like this giant fan was like blowing.
Fuck, it was hot for you know how hot those parking lights are?
And the hot, yeah. And so like there was just always these things like you're just belting out these songs that meant so much to us, and your hair's like blowing behind you.
I never thought of that in any way whatsoever other than practical.
But also, like, for us, it was like, wow, like, just like such a great...
I gotta get the fan back.
Yeah, you gotta bring the fan back. Because, it was definitely, like I said...
that once in a while, like, you had a fan thing, like, and I'm like, it was never for vanity.
No.
It was really hot as living.
It definitely was badass, I gotta say.
You needed it, you know, and hammering the drums. We were working at top speed.
Yeah,
you know, those songs were a lot faster then, too. Like, really. We were almost like a little... It got thunderous sometimes, but the more thunderous, the more fans you need.
Yeah, and it was obviously a powerful fan because...
We'd have different ones. They only lasted every 3 gigs or history, and someone would have to go to the store again.
Yeah. but scrolling back to the story here, so it's like 1991 now. Charles leaves the band, and now you're down to a 4-piece.
Yeah, Charles is on the first CD.
The first one, because if you people don't always realize it right away, but that Blue album, there's 5 people jumping around that fire.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's 4 people. But so Charles was this very, very talented, finger-picking style acoustic guitar player. So a lot of what you hear there in that first...
that's all Charles.
That's all Charles, but you. Like, it's like a balance between the two of you.
Charles did like nature, all that, and Could It Be Another Change, all that finger picking was so great.
So talented.
Ocean of War, I think that was Charles too, on the acoustic, and I just stuck with
that. So a quick story about him, just as a side thing, is he afterwards becomes this very talented rigger, boater type person in the Caribbean, and is on all 4 movies of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, in the background.
And like making sure the boats look good.
No, he was he was
he was also like
I've got
that's awesome.
He's an extra. Pictures of full regalia.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's fantastic. But the other thing is, he was like one of the producers of that documentary, The Cove, about the dolphins and how they got slaughtered in Japan, and it won an Oscar.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible.
It's amazing. It's an amazing documentary.
He sent me out to L.A. when he was doing all these cool things. I'm like, Charles, I'm so fucking proud of you. This is so great.
Seriously.
He risked his life.
That's what I've heard.
The things that he was sent down to do.
The movie company was like, hey, you can do this, but you can't ever associate it with us if you get caught.
Yeah. I mean, they were down there in, like, they had all kinds of cameras that were hidden in, like, painted rocks and painted things that had to really blend in. And they were in an area that's so heavily guarded.
Right.
And it's so slimy down in there, what they do. Oh, my God, man.
Yeah. So, it's a heartbreaking documentary. It's hard to watch, but it's so important because it made real change. In the world. So I just wanted to share that because I watched that documentary not knowing that, and I was just amazed by it. And I'm like, wait, the original acoustic guitar player of the same.
Yeah,
was one of the people who produced it. That's amazing.
That's 2 guys that left Burlington, Vermont in a blizzard to go start a band. He has no other. He didn't have those connections. He had probably some really good friends here and there, but he did all that on his own.
That is so
pretty
cool.
amazing.
So cool. But so there was this funny memory for me from college that I didn't know if it was real or like a dreamed up thing, but as prepping for this interview, I was able to confirm that it was accurate. I dreamed that you were on the Tonight Show, but you were so it wasn't a dream.
You did it before?
No. Like I watched it, but then I forgot, and then
like, what's that? Really?
Yeah, and then I was like, were they on the Tonight Show? Was it Johnny Carson or Jay Leno? I don't remember. But so in preparing, I was just like, okay, good, it really happened. It wasn't a hallucination. And so that's got to be so amazing. Like you're asked to play on the Tonight Show. Like that's a huge deal.
It got canceled 3 times, maybe 4. So we finally got to do it. By the time we did it, it was really kind of like, are you really? Is it really? You know what I mean? There was no looking forward to it.
Well, you get to the point, like, are we really going to show up? Like, are they going to cancel it one more time?
I told my mom, she'd tell her neighborhood friends, and they'd all gather, and it's like, no, it got canceled. And it's like, you know what? Fuck it. If we do it, we do it. If we don't, we don't. And then we got another call. It's going to happen. And But when we got out there, it started to look like, wow, this is going to maybe really happen. So it was super cool. Brentford Marsalis was on the show at the time. He's a friend of ours who we met in New York. He played with us on our song.
Yes, I remember that.
But a story behind that is that we were slated to play 2 songs, except the movie Groundhog Day had just come out. So Andy McDowell was put on at the last minute. So here's our first letdown.
So I actually have this
Nothing
here
against
too.
her.
Right. No, I get. So please keep going because I don't think this is amazing.
No. Then did you start seeing photographs of all of us?
Well, you were in the mariachi.
Okay, so we're huge fans of the Three Amigos.
Yes.
And we were watching it nonstop on a loop around that time.
Yes.
And so it was Andy Sheldon's idea. We needed to make a music video, and so he wrote up a thing on like a napkin, and it was just like totally out of Spinal Tap.
Right.
11-foot.
right, exactly.
You know, how big is a Stonehenge?
11 inches,
So
but
he writes on there, it says mariachi outfits, a mule, and like something else, maybe 3 things.
Right.
So we go out to the desert to make a video, and the mule comes. We didn't realize mules are bigger than fucking horses. We meant we needed what are they, donkey?
Like a donkey.
Yeah.
So this thing, we'll chase this thing around. You can see one shot of our sound man, because he's in the video, hanging onto the reins.
Right.
It took off, and we ran straight out to
Right.
the desert. I hope they found it. And so we did that, but we also combined it with the Tonight Shows.
Right.
So we were going to, for our second song, come out in these fucking
The mariachi
outfits. It would have been so great.
It really would have
when
been.
it's raining. So we had it all lined up, and so we went out that night dressed up in our outfits.
In L.A.
And I'll never forget, like everywhere we went, they're like, you're going to have to leave your guns at the front. And we're like, that's right, we got guns. But they're little toy guns. But they were really freaked out. They were like, there's a bunch of guys coming in with guns. And, are they real? Do we worry about this? And it's like, we explained the story, and they didn't buy any of it, but they just said, we
were on the Tonight Show.
We just drove over in Clint Eastwood's limousine. It was Clint Eastwood's limousine or something. No one would believe any of this stuff. It's all out of a dream.
Yeah.
It really isn't far off from your dream.
No, right. That's why it was just so funny. But
that's where the Every Time video came from as well. The same
right,
album.
yeah. Definitely, you have that whole thing going on.
Try and dream about us playing When It's Raining on the Tonight Show with those albums.
I'll have to
that never
take a deep dive in there.
Really needed to.
Yeah, but I do remember you played "Feel Us Shaking" on the Tonight Show. Yeah. And it crushed. I mean, it's one of these things where you in those moments as a fan, you're like, okay, now it's going to happen.
Yeah,
everyone's now going to hear this band. Yeah, and then it just
is the band going to like lose it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just par for the course. It would have been great if had it that kind of level once in a while hit, but I wouldn't want it too much because there's a trade-off, and I'm not interested in the trade-off.
No, that's very clear, and it's so admirable with what you've done to make sure you've kept things pure.
it's still real, still as real and pure, and even better as musicians than it was then.
Yeah,
that's
for
the
sure.
cool part. At least you get better at something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But,
So 93, Last Drag, that gets released. That has Every Time on it, as long as Little Silver Ring and a bunch of other great songs.
Yeah.
94, Lighthouse Rocket, that's a solo project of yours.
Yeah.
Followed by Autopilot.
Our band was about to break up right then. I don't know why, but if that's the order. I only made that album because that was it. We were done.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Something happened, and I can't remember what.
But Autopilot in and of itself has, in my opinion, like a different sound than the other ones. It sounds a little...
same studio, but we just brought things up a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
we
right.
were getting tighter, and songwriting was getting easier.
Yeah. And there's one song on there that is Weight of the World that I know. I remember even bringing it up to you way back once upon a time. In the liner notes, it talks about that it's like in the spirit of, like, right around the time Kurt Cobain killed himself.
We wrote that the exact day.
Right. And so it wasn't like about him or a tribute to him, but it was about just, I guess...
Suicide. Making a permanent decision to a temporary problem. And it's fucking sad, man.
Yeah.
We've all been there. And it's just sad when somebody really... If that's what happened, there's weird rumors around that.
Sure. No, I got you. Yeah.
But I wasn't a huge fan of Nirvana, but I totally respected, like... I was like, he's out there, he's doing his thing. That's what it was to me. But when I heard that went down, it was sad. Something was sad about that.
Yeah.
With my hands, I will build you castles in the sand and the promise of a land that it will keep you from the weight of the world.
And I wanted to take a moment to talk about that because you have such empathy for heavy topics like that. So you have Weight of the World, Smile for the Camera, which was somewhat in the spirit of Marilyn Monroe.
Big time.
And even As Tears Fall is for your mother, right? Yeah. So you have these very powerful, very emotional songs that are about these people who have been lost to something. And I just kind of wanted to honor that a little bit and see if you wanted to share a little bit.
I like doing that. I like, because, man, this is a dream. This is weird. We don't know what the fuck we're doing here. Nobody really knows. I don't care what you say,
100%.
do.
Right.
I don't know what it is. We all have maybe a moral compass based out of something that's been in our genetics for millions of years. It comes from empathy and compassion or something. But knowing that it is just in and out and it's that quick, like all the garbage we really invest into and think that's so important. And then you realize they were all once little babies. You know, Marilyn Monroe was a little girl that just wanted to be loved. All of us. Something happens, they go this way, that way, this, whatever it all may be. But when someone checks out of the game, you kind of get sad. You're like, oh man,
So we're kind of skipping over in the beginning. You were with Arista Records, and then they asked you to change a song, and you leave them, and
Did you know what
you
song
joined
that
War.
was and not the story behind that at all?
Yeah, it was Did You Ever Slip So Nice?
Yeah.
And they wanted to change the chorus, and
we did. We
Yeah.
actually went in, and I'm open to that. I'm open to anything if it goes.
sure,
in a
but it
good
didn't sit
direction.
right.
Oh, it's
and you
horrible.
said no, and they said, well, this or this, and you walked out.
Oh, so
So yeah,
the
War.
years in which we had a guy like that's what happens. They send in a producer once. You're doing great. Why fix it?
Right.
Like let's nourish and foster this. Let's not change it. Get
Right.
somebody else. What the fuck is that about? So it didn't fly well with us. But we went, and I was all open. I'm like, hey, I'll do it. Nothing's worth it if it sounds like ass.
Right, it's about the music, yeah.
And it was
so
bad.
all these other records we've been talking about have been on What Are Records, War.
Yeah.
And then at this point now, you're kind of ready to try major label again, and you get MCA. But that's a mistake, too, because they're in financial trouble, and they kind of fall apart on you.
Yeah, we went to make that album.
Yeah. Outpost.
I'm trying to think of it. And it was just up until the holidays. And then right after we were to come back and finish it. Well, in between the holidays of that year, Seagram's bought MCA and changed everything and threw everybody out. And so we actually fought to keep our A&R guy, Mitch Brody, because he was great.
Yeah.
He really was a great guy. Like he was pretty much our age and hung out with us. They were going to let him gone too, and we're like, all the band's gone, but we had a deal. So, you want to hear a story you probably never heard?
I can't wait.
Okay, then you can edit this stuff together later, so that you can make it make sense if it needs to be.
No, we're doing perfect.
So, do you know the album, The Tan Mule?
Yes.
Okay, that's a real great album, you think, or whatever. Check this out. We had a $350,000 deal with MCA, and they had to. Because they didn't realize what we fought for in the beginning was when you sign a record deal, you're only signing it for a year if it doesn't work for them.
Sure.
But a lifetime if it does. So
right.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, it's weighted in their favor.
So
isn't that convenient?
What we learned is, of course, is you want to get firm deals. They're called firm. It's always like you got a 9-record option and da 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 da. But it's like, yeah, but how many are they guaranteed they have to put out? I mean, they have to fucking do it. They can't just drop you.
Right.
And they went to drop us. They were going through the paperwork going, nobody gets this deal. They've got it. And they're like, shit, we've got to pay them like a shitload. Or we get dropped.
Right.
So we had to figure a clever way to get dropped because that's what we wanted to do.
Right.
So we had to make an album that was good enough so that it could be taken seriously like this is the next album, but bad enough so that your label wants to drop you. That's the
Tan
Mule. So we're just like,
all about a car.
Throw another song about Joey Frost on there. I think we're getting there. And they dropped it.
That is real talent, like to write an album like that.
It's the trickiest thing in the world. You think at the beginning, you're like all starry-eyed, and it's going to be so fun. All these times, then at the other end of it, you're literally making an album bad enough so that a label will drop you.
Right.
Think of that. You're all in the beginning. You think labels are what you're after, so you're looking for. That's what they tell you.
Sure.
Now I see past it all, but that was funny and it worked. It fucking worked. And we're like, well, we're gonna have to let you go. And we're like,
darn.
Wow. I mean, that's very sad.
But we also have a shitty album on our hands, guys. So we just put it out as the Tan Mule. And it's kind of a true story. I mean, there was a guy named Joey Frost that used to run the movie theater in Manchester.
Because it's a concept album.
We don't know what it is. I had Charles come in. I go, Charles, can you play some of your finger picking? So Charles did a lot of weird finger picking stuff. So there's a song about like a dog or something. I can't remember. I don't even know if I have a copy of it.
We have one with us, so you can actually see it if you want to see it. Yeah.
Isn't there like a pull-out thing? Or
I didn't bring the whole thing. It's from I actually have the zip-up
no
case.
Shit.
Yeah.
Into the case or something.
We'll show it to you after we're done talking.
War Records was great about that stuff. They were brilliant with coming up with little ideas for fans and stuff. But
for sure.
But that's the story there.
Yeah. And so this is now like 2003-ish is where we're kind of at. And this is where Andy leaves the band.
Oh, no, that was 98 or... No, maybe you're right. Yeah.
No, actually, I think it's like 95,
right.
96.
98's when Alan Jeep left, I think.
Right, and then you have the transmissions from the Sea of Tranquility, which is sort of like... It's mostly a live album, and then there's some studio stuff
that is... stuff in there.
Yeah.
Because actually, so you and Andy add Kenny James, Alex Mattson, and Rob Somers, like you talked about before. So that, you're talking that like late 90s. And then 2003 is like where Andy leaves. And I only bring that up because, from what I understand, it's a tough time for you because I think he was probably the most attached to the foundation of the samples and the music writing and what it all was about. So this, as much as it was probably tough to see Alan Jeep go, it's probably that much harder to see Andy go.
Yeah, but usually when that's happening, we're not friends.
Right. But this one you still are.
Oh, no, it's all garbage stuff. We can't even remember what any of that's about.
But from there on out, it becomes a little bit more like Black and White comes out in 04, Rehearsing 05, America in 14, Indian Summer 2019. And in midst of there, you had some reunions with the different, original members and different kind of iterations of the band throughout, and even still touring today. I saw you last month play City Winery in Philly, and you played, like I said, here last night, and so you're still constantly out there.
Yeah, we played 2 nights just before that show in Boston.
Yeah.
We sold out 2 nights.
Yeah, the 2 nights at the City Winery were sold out,
And, right now we can I think it's in such a really great place right now. I have an 8-year-old daughter. I'm older, wiser.
Sure.
We're better musicians. I like being a little older. I like to look at it all and just say, we're gonna go up and have some fun. It's really well, all the shit it takes for us to get on stage and sound good, or you get goosebumps, or something feels connected, or something sounds destroyed or ruined or tainted by the industry or all media, everything that's.
Sure.
We're in a little moment here that's got soul. As much as it did when I was 16 years old in my bedroom.
Yeah, it's weird how things come back, cycle back around.
And it is cycling back around now, but in an interesting time.
Sure, absolutely.
All the shit we sang about forever, like Another Disaster, Native American Indians, and everything, Madman. There's so many bizarre songs, and they're all that shit's happening. Or has happened, or it's peaking right now. So what's going to be next?
Mm-hmm. So you have the guitar here. Would you mind playing a song for us?
Why, sure.
I think I could do that. Let's see here, dear.
Should I do it left-handed?
Whatever you want.
Could you do it the whole song left-handed?
I can't even hold a pick left-handed.
Perfect.
Let's see. It's like the first day of music right there. That's the first day. Let me see if I can do a D.
There we go. Nice.
Sweet home Alabama. That's a D.
It's somewhere in there. Oh, God. So what do you think you want to do?
Let's do, Did You Ever?
Yeah, let's do that. One of our favorites. Played at the dinner hour of my wedding back in January.
You still married?
Well, yeah, hopefully. It was only 2 months ago.
Oh, because I was going to say we have another song that we're going to do because it's good for divorces. It is called Did You Not Ever?
Did You Not Ever Look So Nice?
We were children in our places, with the world beneath our feet. Growing up was on our faces. I remember you're so sweet. Did you ever look so nice? Did you ever look so nice? Every turn became our future, there for us to make our bed. That the longer I remember, you're the hardest to forget. Did you ever look so nice? Did you ever look so nice? If we make it through these changes, to find that nothing was in stone, but the glance of our exchanges, did they ever look so nice? Did you 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 ever look so nice?
Woo! Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
That is
A song written about a convalescence center. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
It's about Fern Hill Convalescence Center. In the very beginning, with my friend Rob Summers, my brother Pat, just
Right.
before we had Andy join that. And we couldn't get a show to save our lives anywhere, so we were like contacting, random places in the Burlington, Vermont area, and it's like, well, put a demo together and see if you can do this. We're like, we didn't know how to make a demo or how that even worked, and we're like, shit. So it just dawned on me, and I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna call a convalescent center. Let's call old folks. They'll love to hear this.
Yeah.
And it worked. The lady responded, who ran it, and was like,
Oh, we'd love to have them come play, dear.
I swear to God. And it was like every, I don't know, Friday evening or something, we'd go up there and play at Fern Hill Convalescent Center. And so while we were there, they started, because music's like such a universal language,
100%.
we all felt so connected, and they'd come out, show us their photo albums, and share their lives and everything. And it was
my gosh.
I swear to God, one of them even probably said like,
And didn't she look so nice, dear?
and so years later, when we were doing the samples, we came up with those chords, and then all the memories of Fern Hill, that's what it's about. Did You Ever Look So Nice was about these old folks.
That's so cool. That's a story I didn't know.
Yeah, Fern Hill. Look it up, see if it's still there in Burlington. But like for any bands out there starting out, if you are passionate enough, you're going to find a place to play.
Sure. Yeah.
And it just clicked. It was like,
yeah.
So then we wrote, that's all about, if you read the words now and think of it as old people.
That'll
a lot
make
of
so
people
much
like
more
yourself
sense.
have it at your weddings and stuff, or this and that, and whatever it's for.
I guess it's
great.
also the same concept. It's just you're closer to the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Like
It's
they
the
were
same
talking
thing.
about it and it's 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it and it was earlier that day.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it's still the same moment in time.
No, it's not linear, so it's like happened 2 seconds ago.
Right.
Or it's going to happen in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know. So we like to close with like some just fun tidbits. You got to drink from the Stanley Cup. Martin San Luis is one of your
Well,
big
yeah, but
fans.
then after we found out it was like drinking out of the fucking Stanley toilet. Are you kidding?
Yeah, a lot of people put their lips on that thing.
Not
But
just that. And I'm like, what?
The stories of what's happened to the Stanley Cup are enough to make your head turn around backwards.
I am so sports illiterate, other than like I love tennis and baseball, that I thought when they called and said a guy that's somebody with a Stanley Cup wants us to play, I'm like, I thought it was what you wore in baseball. I swear to God. I'm like so out of it with sports. I'm not a sports guy. So I'm like, some guy, okay, let's go. And so then I found out Stanley Cup is this big deal, you know, and I'm like, cool, you know, let's drink out of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it really was.
I mean,
I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
But we doused it with tequila, so that probably killed it.
It probably killed a lot, yeah.
But Martin St. Louis, it turns out,
big fan.
Huge fan. Like how
Two-time
cool to
NHL MVP, multiple time,
we still
Stanley
stay
Cup
in
winner.
touch, and
that's awesome.
He lives in Connecticut down there, and we bump into him. And
yeah, and you could have had like your songs have been used in other things like Could It Be Another Change was in Perks of Being a Wallflower and stuff. You could have had other elements, and I thought this was funny. So you could have had songs used for like Camaros, but you were just like, I'm not into it.
There was Camaro specifically.
Yeah,
yeah.
But you thought
I don't know what song.
But you wanted it to
Nothing
be
lasts for long.
That's what, you wanted that to be in like a Viagra commercial.
Yes, I thought we could sell that to
hilarious.
Viagra or something.
Yeah, I think that's
nothing lasts for long. You know, it's a guy like sipping tea as the sun goes down. I'd do that. I'd sell our song with that. But yeah, we had lots of offers. It would have been Cheeseball.
So, and you met Bill Clinton. I'm sure you met a lot of other cool, famous people.
Well, no, that was another bizarre story. It was really like I don't like politics in the least bit. I think it's the most fucked up thing on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
However, I had a manager at the time, and I said, hey, Bill Clinton's coming to town. See if he needs anyone to play music for him, you know? And it's like, that's never going to happen. No, sure enough. They wrote right back, but they didn't know who we were.
Sure.
But it was like, if you don't ask,
your
answer is no. So we did. And so if you see the pictures of that, I'm wearing this weird hat and like this rant.
And you're like so giddy. You're like...
Well, we had to hit a thrift store a mile away from the place where they were. So we're trying on like the Salvation Army, like weird suits and shit. We're like, okay, think the president will like this? You know, so look at Rob and myself and Vince. We're like, he's got like this plaid suit thing. And was Rob there?
Yeah.
Was it me and Rob? Yeah, it was. That was funny.
Yeah. But so then what can we promote? So for one thing, a lot of your songs have a very environmental, earth kind of like tone to them. So you've been gracious enough to be able to set aside some time to record some songs for our Earth Day episode in April, where it's going to be dedicated to environmentalism and such. So that's one thing. Mutually promoting you performing at like a recorded set for our show. But you've got a ton of other stuff that's out there. We'll link to.
I never know what to promote, man. Just maybe the website. That way, if you're interested, you can find us. If there's some way to get connected to playing a show, performing, or finding a CD or something like that. Yeah.
Well, Sean, thank you so much. This has been such a treat and a joy and an honor to have you on the show.
My pleasure. For me too.
And can't wait to see other performances and stuff, and can't wait to have you on our No Planet B Jamboree back in April.
I can't wait. Yeah. And then when do we see you guys again?
Are we going
to be playing somewhere near where you live? Or?
Oh, definitely. Like we've been working with Sheila and Aaron and such to make sure that whether you're in Philly or New York or hopefully in Bethlehem, we would love to have you in the downtown area.
What is the reach to this? Like, would this reach Philly?
Sure.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Would it reach Greensboro or Greensburg?
Yeah, we can try for that. We should definitely, we can tag
we're
that.
Like, let them know, like, we're huge fans of the...
You said it's like the Thunderbird?
The Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's a bird.
Yeah, let's talk about it right now.
Okay, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
it's a bird that is larger than 3 lanes of a 4-lane highway.
Okay.
Some people see it as it's got a leathery skin. I'm completely quoting what you're gonna when you watch the video. That's how they talk.
I love it.
Some say it's got leathery skin. There's another guy that thinks that it looks like giant bats. You know that it's
right.
Here I said bats,
right?
But a single.
Right.
You hear him say that in the interview too. I mean, it's a funny documentary. It's crazy. So we're fans of Eric Altman, who helps run this the Bigfoot thing, and it's the coolest video. Watch the Thunderbird. It's on a thing called. Go on YouTube and look up Shiver Thunderbird and learn everything about the Chestnut Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
All the crazy stuff.
Yes, and we'll get you connected into Greensboro, Pennsylvania.
We love it. Plus, they never show one bird. They do the whole thing, and there's not even kind of evidence. So it's so classic. but we gotta believe.
You do. You gotta put it out there. But thank you so much, Sean.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you, David.
Phillip.
So there was Sean Kelly of The Samples.
It was wonderful to meet him in person. It was wonderful to get to hear even more depth to some of those stories that, you've heard before. But I mean, like you and I as fans, some of that stuff, and then he just expanded to all of that.
Yeah, it was so cool, and such a humble guy, gracious guy. Didn't have any of the requirements. So because of who I am, he just kind of strolled in, sat down, told stories, played some music. Yeah. And you heard there too, like he's also, after we wrapped the interview, we recorded him playing basically a set for our No Planet B Jamboree that's going to happen on April 16th. So we teased that, I think, back in January, and it's just continued to come together. So more announcements on that soon. But that was a very, very cool thing that he did for us. And so we're able to play that as kind of an exclusive performance for our episode, event, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it was remarkable, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're looking forward to editing that together, because we shot it with a couple different angles and stuff like that. So it's our first time doing something like that too. So, and we definitely need to talk about the tan mule. Yeah, I'm gonna actually let me do that one more time, and we're gonna give you.
We're just gonna go right up you're gonna put me in the center of the screen. Here we are. Here we are.
How about that? So tell us all about this.
Well, so when it was released in the late 90s, this was the fan club version of it you could get, which is, this is the era of CD books. This was the Samples official one.
Yep.
And it officially came with the Tan Mule, along with sleeves for all of their albums that were released at that time.
What an amazing thing.
And
you got to share this with him. He thought that was very cool.
Yeah, he hadn't seen one in 20 years, so that was pretty cool that I was able to share that. And then, for reference, here's the Tan Mule, which historically was impossible to get in here But now, thanks to the modern digital streaming services, you can actually take it all in if you want to.
True. But you were able to prove your fandom with that. I
raised my cred.
Yes, that was Samples cred. I was wearing one of their shirts from the 90s, but not as cred as you, because that is literally the item that you had from back then.
Yeah,
the shirt I had was that one, but wore it so much that it ended up becoming like one of those giant rectangles that I had to just ditch.
and
but
color
I was lucky enough,
relative at that point in time after that many washings.
Total washout. But I was able to find it on eBay and so it was like borrowed cred, I guess. But
I mean,
but
it was
I did
like
own it once upon a
cred.
time.
You had one. You had to sort of like step it back
cred.
up.
I do like that. But once again, super thanks and gratitude to Boonton Coffee, and then obviously giant appreciation to Sean Kelly and Shishi Kramer and Aaron, who is his tour manager. They were super helpful in getting it all set up and being, just as smooth and easy as it appeared. It was such a great setup and day. And thank you to you for coming along for it all.
It was a fun experience.
And we're going to do the credits here, and then I'm going to play Feel Us Shaking. If you heard, we chatted very quickly about the fact that that's what they played on The Tonight Show back once upon a time. It's probably one of their more well-known popular songs. Back to the point about how how more of their songs haven't been in movies. This is probably the one that I would most think of. So we'll do the credits, and we'll let Feel Us Shaking play at the end there, and we will see you next week.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We would like to sincerely thank Sean Kelly of The Samples for sharing all of his stories and playing music in the episode as well as afterwards for our No Planet B Jamboree. There'll be links in the show notes to everything from the website to the social media, Spotify, the Thunderbird, all of that stuff will be in the show notes there. And as always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. If you are someone who already knew the Samples and Sean Kelly, we thank you for joining us today, and we just hope that you like and subscribe and follow us so that you can join in for future next favorite bands. And if you have any recommendations for us for who you think our next favorite band should be, definitely let us know that. We would also want to just kind of recommend that if anybody would like to be a sponsor of the show, that is obviously out there and available. So if you want to find out about that, you can hit us up on social media or on email. That's all available on nextfaveband.com. And lastly, we would just like to thank you all for tuning in, and subscribe and like and give us a 5-star review. That would all be very helpful.
It's all over now. Gentle thoughts meander through the sand as the ship made currents reach the land. The omniscient sun paving through the sky